Hi and welcome back to another video where in today's video we're trying out Arrtx's acrylic paint markers thingamajigs, the 90 set. So I've been seeing like a lot of like TikToks and shorts using these and I was just like, it's satisfying, I really want to use them. So I think last year now, they had like a 20% off store-wide deal, and at the time, because like I'm exporting them to the UK, they're like a lot more expensive, I think. I don't know if you heard my cats, but anyways, I think in terms of pounds this was like about 65 or so, like with the discounts and everything. So yeah, the box you might notice is like slightly damaged, but I don't think that's their fault. I think that's my fault or my cat's fault. I don't remember it looking like that when it came. So, and usually I look for like flaws in my art supplies. But anyways, they do give you stickers, which I really adore because like they've got like little hearts on them. I mean, it is a bit tedious, so here's me just like putting them on. Let me know if the audio is bad. Like I'm trying to record in like different places in my house, but like the noise level varies. Did you hear that? That was like the wall. That was like the kitchen from the other side of the wall. I'm not in the kitchen right now. I'm not recording in the kitchen. I tried that once and then I heard like a little bit of a bleeping beep bleep bleep beep in the background. Oh yeah, and my cat decided to like see what was going on at some point. So here he is. Yeah. These are like the colors that I got. I think this is going to be a bit of a quicker video, maybe, depending. I am using these inside my yellow sketchbook, which still isn't done, and maybe it's a 2025 resolution to finish it. I don't know if I will. I mean, hopefully, maybe, might. But yeah, so like, here's the colors in the box, and I swatched the colors out on my book because you should always swatch on the paper you're about to use. These are really pigmented. They're like so saturated as well, and they're really like opaque. They're so opaque. It's like so crazy. And like one of the colors, I think the second color that I use, it kind of like blended into the paper that I was using because the sketchbook is a bit more of an off-white, and I was like, I could use this as like a whiteout Tipex correction fluid, whatever you want to say. I don't know what the Americans call it. I mean, like, I feel like in Britain we just call everything Tipex. Like every correction fluid, whiteout fluid, even though it's not. Tipex is just like a brand. Don't the Canadians say like Kleenex for like wipes? Yeah? No? Someone in chat. Anyways, so I was swatching them out and I like the, like, obviously at first glance the color arrangement looks good. Like you've got a lot of oranges, you've got a lot of reds, purples, blues, and you've got some dull desaturated colors. And this was my first time using acrylic. Like it was my first time using acrylic paint, let alone like acrylic paint markers, because I've never really taken a liking to like acrylic paint. I don't know what it is, but I've tried it like twice or something, and twice I've decided no, this isn't the medium for me. My headphones just died, and for whatever reason it just decided I'm gonna end your recording right there. So I kind of forgot what I was saying. Oh wait, what was I talking about? Acrylic markers? Yeah, so like I just decided like, oh, acrylic's not the medium for me. But I assume that's because I didn't know much about it and I'd have to get more paints, and I was just like, no, I'm gonna stick to watercolor. And yeah, I think it was because it like I don't like the messiness of it, I guess. Or like there's a lot of prep work to be done, I guess. Even with like oil paintings, like there's a lot of like prep work to be done. To be honest, I think I was a bit like that with watercolor at the beginning as well. Like I had the paint brush water pen type of things, like with the water tube at the back, so you wouldn't have a mug of water. And then eventually I forced myself to get like proper brushes and water, like a mug for paint water. I think I don't like it when there's too much prep work, but obviously there's not any with this. It's not even the type where you have to shake them or anything because they're just like that, and they're like a brush tip. Anyways, I think the drawings that I did, like I just was playing around, but I think the drawings that I did were kind of a bit too small for the brushes that I was using, especially because the start, like I didn't go in with a plan. Like I didn't go in with like, oh, I'm gonna try a very like simplistic line art-y, very like cell shaded look. Like I wanted some places for there to be more blending, which is pretty hard to do with these markers because there's like a very small window of opportunity to blend. So yeah, that being said, I did manage to blend a couple of times where I didn't want to because the paint was still wet. Yeah, this whole experience like sort of like recalculated my mind because I realized like most of the art supplies that I use are like the type that have like less opacity, so you can layer on top of each other. Like even the way I do digital art, my brush's opacity is kind of like a bit more lower so I can build up. But obviously with this, there's no building up. There's like a very like cell shaded look. Or if you can manage to blend, you blend. But yeah, I was kind of like approaching these as like the way that I've approached oils in the past. I'm not like an oil person, by the way, but I was approaching this sort of the way that like I see like oil painting tutorials and stuff, where like you start off with your darkest and then you sort of build up. So you start off with like a dark sketch, kind of like the outliney bit. So I was doing that, and obviously it's a very forgiving medium because you can like, because of its opacity, and you can just like, correct everything underneath, kind of. But yeah, so I think at first as well, like even I was like struggling to like see what colors would work together, particularly with highlights and stuff. Like the first one, I feel like it's a bit too, like it wasn't necessarily what I was trying to go for. But essentially later on, because I don't really do color theory, but I realized the color that I'm picking for the base or whatever, I'll just go like a bit to the left and a bit like a row or two up for the sort of like highlight color, or like, that sort of range for the highlights. So like one of the problems I faced when working like this small is obviously the nib is kind of like a lot bigger. So like in some of the places that I want to do some of the detail, or like I want it to look a bit more refined or small, this nib isn't necessarily for that. But essentially I overcame like quite a couple of things by just blending a lot with my finger, which I don't know if you can hear, but my cat's like kneading in the background on a beanbag. But yeah. Anyways, so this whole thing was very much like a journey. Like I was struggling a lot, but I was getting better as I was going. Like I really liked how some of these like skin tone, like ice type of thingamajigs turned out. Yeah, particularly like the darker skin tone. Like I think those two, like the sort of like base color and then the color besides that, I think works really well. Where again, it's like that cell shading, but it doesn't necessarily look all that cell shaded. Like it doesn't look like it sticks out too much. The blue does like convey that like outliney look, if that makes sense. Anyway, so with this girl at the bottom, I tried like my best to kind of like apply what I was learning. Also with like the red eye, I really like the shadows on the skin. But again, it's like I have to rejig my whole brain for this. And I realized as well, after I did this, I did some art for like an upcoming video, and I started using like this brush that was kind of like on full opacity to render the whole piece. And I was like, why am I doing this? And I was like, oh my god, it's because of like I just recently did the acrylic markers, so they're kind of stuck in my brain. So yeah, I don't really have much to say. I think like, yeah, there's a learning curve. The metallic colors are really metallic and they're really good and they're really fancy. I think, yeah, I need to get like a blending stump or whatever it's called, because I don't think using my fingers is an efficient method by any means. Oh yeah, there was like one part that I was really struggling with, because like I feel like I use a lot more muted colors, a little bit more desaturated colors, and even though this like pack does have like a good blend of like muted colors, like if you look at the bottom row, sort of the last skin tones or whatever that they give you, they're pretty like desaturated. And some of the other colors as well, there's a nice blend of desaturated colors, but the problem that I was finding with this set is that there's no like desaturated colors with like very less value, if that makes sense. Like there's not a light desaturated color. Like a lot of the light colors are very poppy colors. They're really saturated, and so like when I go to do the highlights, and if I want to do like a sort of desaturated look, then I can't. And blending's not really an option with these, like unless you're working like really fast. Yeah, unless you have like some sort of tool that you're like blending with. Oh, another thing, I was finding it really hard to like pick a color and then put the color back in the right spot of the box, which obviously like they have like these other boxes that have like sort of like an inbuilt stand if you want. Like the lid's also like the stand at the same time. So I think that's really helpful. What I didn't remember is that this table that I'm using right now is like it can be propped up as an easel. So essentially I could have had these at sort of like a slope had I wanted to, but I didn't. So using them like flat on, it's pretty hard, but that's just like, minor sort of inconvenience. I guess like the box wouldn't have been strong enough, like packaging wise, for it to be a stand. Besides that, I also realized that like every time I took a color out, I couldn't tell that where I took the color out from. So I'd be like, oh wait, what color is this again? To look at the swatch. And then I would check the lid for it. And I was like, oh, there's no color name on the lid. and so I'd have to look at the back. So that was like manual error, but like again, that sort of like resetting my mind type of thing. So what I did in the end, I did this off camera, is with the second set of stickers, because I only put the top ones on. I put those on the lid so that every time I go to use them, like, oh, I see it on the lid rather than having to check back. But yeah, that's just, I guess, a tip for anyone who's interested. But yeah, overall, these were really good. I want to experiment with them more. With the sort of like dude drawing, I tried to like make more of a natural blend for the hair, and then I think I gave up a bit. Or like I just gave it that poppy sort of like, dark shadows. But yeah, I think they turned out pretty. I'm really happy with like the sort of like red-haired girl at the bottom. And obviously I'm not the best with acrylic markers and stuff. And I actually really enjoyed how this spread came out. And another thing, oh my gosh, like this is like really good. Like obviously I know that acrylic markers are like good for like a lot of different mediums. But they're just so nice in this sketchbook that I think I might be able to finish this sketchbook this year, maybe. Like, I'll add that to my goals. In my last video, I did like a digital art tour, and I had like 2025 resolutions. So I'll add this onto the resolutions. But if you liked how the art turned out, please do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!